Well,
We're good.
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 We're good. Um, okay. So it's Monday. It's my turn. I spent the weekend watching a lot of artsy movies, and I think the one which provoked me the most was a movie about the Bell sisters. Is it the Bell? No. Is it the Bell sisters? Vanessa Bell and Victoria Woolf. The
Yes,
Bell sisters.
yes.
Yes, the Bell sisters.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've read about them. I haven't read a whole lot about Vanessa Bell, but I obviously read about um
Virginia.
Virginia Woolf.
Virginia Woolf
Yeah.
over and over again. I love her quotes. I love her ideals about a woman, a room of one's
Remove
own.
one's own.
It's
Yeah.
been a concept of mine for a very long time. But as you know, with movies always bring stories to life. It's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
So after reading about these women, watching the movie, it was called Life in Squares. It was a series. I think it was just a three-part series. What I was what I thought about, which is what I want to discuss, I feel, and I don't mean to put us down, but I feel artists of a different era were far more interesting than we are.
Because you have distance from them.
Okay. Okay. So maybe because their lives are condensed into these stories.
Right.
Well,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that. But my question, my very provocative question to us this morning is, what would be our story, you know, 100 years from now? You know, what would be the book that was written about us, or what would we like it to be, or what would we want the movie to be
Are we
about
gonna
us?
are we going to have to be honest about all the
Of
phases?
course.
Well, I'm sure
What
mine could
would
be
be
colorful, but they aren't the things I would write about now. Or the people who know about what's happened to me. I mean, they've kept their mouths shut, or we're all kind of, you know.
And one of the parts in the movie um no, it didn't provoke me, but it made me it was something I really wanted to think about. So um Vanessa had a child with Duncan, who was gay, and they all lived happily ever after in her little commune that she had built in Charleston in England. And what what word is it? It didn't provoke me, but it just made me think a lot about us as women. She was obviously a wild child when she was young, right? And she had these ideals which she lived by, and she was proud of the fact that she lived by them. However, when she became a mother, and it wasn't just her, it was also Virginia. When they grew up, when they grew older, I won't say they became hypocrites, but they did, right?
In what regard? In what
They
regard?
they became when they were younger, they opposed these moral ideas, and they stuck with their values, and they didn't want to become like their parents. However, when they became older, they they changed, you know. And it made me wonder. I obviously don't have a daughter, so I have no idea. But it made me wonder, if I did have a daughter, or if I had nieces or young girls around me, would I tell them the truth about my own ideals when I was young? Or would I be the grown up and tell them what to do?
That's a good one.
And you know, it was a very it really made me think a lot. So um, that doesn't contain a question. That's just a thought I have about when we grow up. Do
I
we
think-
conform? Do we conform too much? Do we? I don't know what words to use, but it made me think about these things. But I'll go back to the first question about what would we like the movie or the book or the poem or the play of our artistic lives to be, which obviously involves our lives as a whole, years from now. So that's my
Well,
question.
I think there's space to make mistakes when you're younger. And as you get older, there may not be as much space. And it depends on your circumstances. I mean, anybody who's got a pocket full of money can make a lot of mistakes and recover from them. But it depends on that's just moving in the world. If you're talking about love and people, yeah, I think we have the capability of making mistakes at all ages, that affect our mistakes or choices. Let's put choices because that's more of a neutral term. But I think that you have time to recover from choices when you're younger, and when you get older, the consequences, depending on your circumstances, could create more of a challenge for you. So I think it's what kind of comfort level you require that makes the difference between people and the choices they want to make. I mean, I see people all around me that were wild. I was very conventional up until my mid-30s, and then I had a period of about 15 years of freedom. And then things began to get pointed, and you start not wanting to make, mistakes on the same level.
Exactly. Yes.
I'd like some comfort as I get older. I don't want to end up on the street, and I don't want to be, hated by people or, despised, or not people that didn't want to be around me. So I'm gentler with people than I used to be.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. However, I still bring in the idealistic life of the artist, and I very purposefully put in idealistic because looking back at these artists, Vanessa very deliberately called herself a bohemian. True definition of a bohemian, and she built this bohemian life. And I feel of all careers, of all areas, of all whatever, as artists, we are the freer of the lot, and I wonder if we feel that freedom.
I do now. I mean, and I think that that the CVP course apparently, to me, is going to lead people into a freer attitude, freer space. More honest product. That seems to me like what that represents.
This takes me to something Nicholas Walton said, which actually is a part of the conversation. He said, "Oh God, am I going to find this picture?" I took about 2,000 pictures on Saturday, so.
Oh, that's a plenty.
Okay, here. Artists, by their free expressions, encourage others to be free. This is the quality that makes works of art enduring, by Marty Rubin. So I read that on Friday, I think, and it was at the back of my mind when I was watching all these movies. So just a lot to think about. Beata, do you have any ideas on the subject?
Interesting question. So,
Pardon?
my movie would be romantic.
Okay, tell us.
Romantic, full of adventure.
Tell us more.
I will, but my husband sitting here and listening.
Okay.
so, yeah, I think so. What can I say about that? Now I'm only painting it.
Okay. Okay. Well, you're laughing a lot, so I'll take it. What about you, Michelle?
About,
There you
yeah,
go.
I'm here. I just muted myself.
Yeah.
There background noise for a while. Now it's stopped. Oops, my chair is making rude noises. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Anyway, I don't know. Freedom is a funny thing because I think that there's so much that goes into. I think as you age, you feel more freedom to express who you really are. You aren't engaged with what people think about you. In fact, I could care less really whether people like my art or don't like my art. They can walk by and it's okay. It's okay when they said, Sonny, can you do this? You know, can you put it on the wall for $1,500? Can you do this? It happens all the time. So, but by the same token, there's less freedom in being able to do the things that are economically free, unless you do have resources, because you have responsibilities. Even though I don't have children, even though I don't have a spouse, I still have responsibilities in my community and friendships. So freedom is a funny concept. I think what's really wonderful is the way you interpret freedom in to express. So I think in that regard, artists do have more freedom. Or because you think outside the box, you see ways of voicing what it is you need to express. And that's wonderful. I mean, that's why we're all artists, right? Or one of the reasons why we're all artists. It was interesting to hear Susan, one of the coaches in CVP, talk about finding her voice in her art. And I have a whole experience of that, you know, that actually tied to a Native American story that I'll tell you about some other time. But yeah, and
tell us now. It's subject.
One of my first abstract pieces, which was actually done because when I think I told you before that whenever I'm really angry or really upset, I do paintings so quickly and they have so much energy to them and so much like that inner voice, that inner critic stand that people think it's my best work. I don't want to produce angry paintings. That's not who I am. I don't want to stay in anger mode. So it's best that I find some other way of channeling that type of energy and that type of emotion, ability to emote. But what had happened, I was driving to a class, actually. It was even before I had a studio. So I'm talking about quite a long time ago. And I heard for the first time the number of Iraqis that had perished, you know, because we had our casualty rate, the American casualty rate was always quite low. And I just had heard for the first time the true cost of the war. in human life. And when I got to the studio, and I mean, not to the classroom actually, and we were given a task of just, we were, we were working on illustration board and 2 illustration board panels together. And we were to squeegee out acrylic paint, and then we were to draw into it and then squeegee. I've forgotten the process. Anyway, I created this painting, and you can see it on my website. It's called Nevermore.
Mm-hmm.
And I had what was a lot of green, but there were crows in the foreground, and there was a little slit behind them. And I put all over C's, meaning the Roman numeral, 100, and then 10, and then like 10 of hundreds, and putting that all in there. And I felt it was an exorcism of sorts. When I was done with it, I just felt so light. And I had a show. It was there was a show called Resolutions that actually I had helped organize. But what I said was this was the first time that I had expressed my voice. Like I came to art making to express myself, to find my voice, and or to abstract art. Because finding my voice. And what ended up happening was a woman who was also in the exhibit said, haven't you heard that Native American story about the creation of Earth? And I said, no, I hadn't. Mm-hmm. And she said that the crow had been a very boastful bird and had a beautiful singing voice, and had on the 7th day, or however many days there were, because they noticed in the creation of the world that there was no sun. And there was a slit in the sky, and the crow, brave soul that he was, said, I will go get the sun and save the world. Mm-hmm. And so they said, okay, go. And so he threw the slit in the sky and pulled the sun into the earth, into our world. But as he was doing it, a bow pierced his larynx. So all he could do was caw, caw, caw. So she goes, you didn't know that Native American stuff?
No.
Because I called it finding my voice. Never finding my voice was the reason. And I said, no. It just seemed to be one of those outer worldly experiences, because I remember the mind slit, like I want to slit there. I don't know why I want it. There was a distinct landscape feel to it, but it really wasn't well, you'll have to look at the painting and see what you see. It was a very, but it's, so somewhere, maybe I heard that story, and somewhere buried in that subconscious, how your subconscious informs sometimes, and you don't know why, but it informs decisions you make, and you aren't sure. But that was the case. So that's the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Isn't it? And I think I'm not alone in that art has had people find their voices.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Most definitely. Thank you. Yeah. Fascinating. I'm very curious right now. I want to read some more about it. So okay. Well, when I thought about these questions and what would I like the movie or story to be? I watched a video sometime last week. Do you know about the advanced style ladies, right? Have you heard of advanced style? Have you heard about it? Oh, really? Okay. So this young man whose grandmother had passed away a couple of years or months or something, was a very stylish woman. I think he decided to move to New York, and what he did was he started photographing women he would find on the streets, and usually these women were 60, 70, 80 plus.
Oh, I have seen those.
Okay.
It's a documentary, right?
Yes, it was a documentary. It was
New
a
York
book. I think he's on his third or fourth book right now.
Mhm.
So yes, that's advanced style. And so I follow lots of the women. I've made friends with them on Instagram, with the couple. And I was watching, she was invited to a panel during a design show or something. And as I was listening to her, I was like, wow, that's me when I'm 75. you know? But it was she was talking about things that I think about, I feel, but I realized I don't have the courage to say out loud, because I'm still looking for I'm still in my own comfort zone. I don't want to, it takes a lot to speak your mind all the time, and this isn't even about life. This is simply about glamour and style. But she was talking about things, it wasn't that I've been afraid to say, but she gave my thoughts words, talking about how, she was asked questions like, are you born with it? And she said something I've always believed. All women are beautiful. I can't provide you beauty. Everyone is beautiful. But glamour can be created. Glamour is artificial. Glamour is like art. Glamour involves creativity, you know. And just by listening to her, she connected some dots for me, because I want to live my life as art, you know. Yes, I paint, but it's more than painting. It's about my life being a canvas where I get to put whatever colors I want, or whatever style I want to paint at whatever point in time, and the freedom to wake up every morning and know that it's a blank canvas and I can paint whatever I want. That's my quest. So I think about that book or that movie. Feels a little boring right now. I would like for it. I would really like to spice it up, for it to be a little bit more interesting. And maybe this is a phase I'm going through because I have a young child. But yeah, it gave me a lot to think about. Gave me a lot to think about. So I definitely wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't have a whole lot to share. I said my friend, I go great. My friend brought me some roses from her garden
Oh, nice.
the Saturday before my birthday. I was supposed to have this soiree, which didn't happen. And she brought them in a container, and I kept them in the fridge. And yes, I hadn't been feeling well, so I completely forgot that I had these roses. So on Saturday, I remembered, so I took them out, set up my little studio, and I wrote about it because it's a little thing, but it's a big thing for me. Store-bought roses have been genetically modified to last longer, so their scent has been taken away. I learned this in floral design class, and I haven't had. I've tried planting roses here; they've all died. So I haven't had my own roses since I came to America, because I had a huge rose garden in Ghana, and I was just so, as I was photographing the roses, I was smelling them, and it was such a multi-sensory experience, which I couldn't stop. Like I said, I took about 2,000 pictures on Saturday, and I ended up making myself sick again because I worked too hard. But it was it was just wonderful. It was just wonderful. And yeah, just these, 7 tiny roses brought me so much joy and inspired so much creativity. Yeah, that's the life. That's my life as an artist, for which I'm grateful. So that's all I've done. So yes. So Michelle, it's your turn.
Well, it has been wickedly hot here, as I'm sure it is for you, Marianne, too.
Yeah.
But today we had some type of solace, but I don't have air conditioning in my car. So yesterday I ended up experiencing a little bit of exhaustion because I had taken my dog to the park a little later than I like getting there. And of course, she didn't want to come in as early as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come in here yesterday, which was the first time in a long time that I haven't been here on a Sunday, but I didn't come in. And I ended up doing nothing productive except that I watched every single one of those Sky Arts portraits.
Oh,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
2013.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they were wonderful.
They were. Mm-hmm.
And every time I sort of think, why am I doing this? There are a million, bazillion, godzillion, so many better qualified or better artists than me. Why am I even trying to put myself out there? And then I look at all the ranges of expression
Mm-hmm.
in voice. It reinforces sort of what we've always known, what we're always told, that only you have the voice you have. And yes, but occasionally just need a reminder.
Yes.
And that there's no so I enjoyed that series enormously, but I was not protected. Today I got in here early and I'm doing more texture to these boards, which is where we are. And now I found my grandfather was a civil engineer, and I found this book of bridges that just love that he gave me. And so, I mean, just beautiful diagrams and I'm going through right now because I like structure. I mean, I do. And making reverse, image transfers right now for these boards. But I'm so anxious to get to move on to something other than 12 by 12 right now.
yeah.
I'm kind of, and I started a 25th board.
It's time for a
They're in
break.
all different states. And I'm never going to sell them. So I don't, but that's okay. I'm enjoying, these are play. I'm enjoying it enormously. And I just, I made the mistake of ordering more material from Amazon that have to go. It just doesn't quit. You just keep on going.
It sounds like you and Beata are in the same place because
We are. Is that where you? Yeah.
That's it.
Spending too much money and making, but having a fun.
At least.
And I think I definitely will be taking it next year. So Shirley Ann, if you're on board, then
Yes, I will be there.
I am sure, because I'm just getting too much out of it, but not to do it. And it's a kind of discipline. I've been getting here earlier than normal and staying later than normal, and
I'm definitely so
that's it. That's about it.
all right. Well, thank you, and I hope the heat eases up on you.
It's supposed to tonight or to, I believe it's going to break. The sky is kind of a strange color blue. I think we might be going into storm soon. So. But yeah, I don't do well in heat. I just melt. And I know, Beata, did you have that huge heat wave in Europe, in Hungary?
huge.
Wasn't there quite a pronounced heat wave in Europe a few weeks ago?
Yeah, but it was hot, but that wasn't any unpleasant things in Hungary. No.
Okay.
It's avoided somehow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad in Paris. My a friend's
Yes.
89-year-old mother had heat stroke
Oh.
Oh,
and was hospitalized.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's It summer. There for some reason every year there's always some event in Europe with the heat. Where people
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff.
Most don't have, one luxury that we have here is that we're almost all air conditioned. That is
Yes.
there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Marianne, it's your turn.
as for crows, one of the Northwest Indian tribes, their stories about ravens are that ravens bridge the void. They bring information from the other side.
Ah.
And I have lots of pictures I took of ravens in Death Valley years ago, more than one visit that we picked because they are very interested in anything that you might have to feed them. And of course, the tourists are told not to feed them, but they come looking and that those birds are very smart, and supposedly they remember faces. So it's
Really?
interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
they're
didn't know
supposed to be
that.
that smart.
Oh.
Yeah, they remember
Wow.
people. So if someone has treated them badly, they'll remember it. But
Wow.
anyways, that's just one little piece on that. I have thought about drawing them a few times, but every time I think about that, somebody shows up in my environment who's painting crows or ravens. So it feels
Yeah.
sort of like I'd be doing it again. They still might one of these days, but it'll be in something that happens organically rather than.
Yeah. Well, one
planned.
came out in a painting I just finished. There's a
wow.
whale
Yeah.
crow, so I call it migration, and I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about it when it happened.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Fascinating.
Your comment about having worked with a squeegee and paint and drawing into it, that's kind of interesting because I've done some of that this weekend. I wouldn't call it a squeegee, but I use those cards they send in the mail. Those whatever cards show up, they're useless, and you keep them and use them to spread paint. And have been drawing into it this weekend, texture over top of color. Sometimes if I have dark blue or black, I will use dark blue or black over top of that, thick,
Nice.
and draw into it. It's making for very interesting, light falling on the surface, in a different way. That's
Cool.
just using that pencil in another way. Every time I wipe that tip off, every time it gathers a big ball of paint. But that's been kind of fun. I have been employing texture for a while, but just not with regularity. But anyways, that's it's been interesting. And then I go over that surface again with a varnish, not a matte, but a satin varnish. And then if I feel like I've evened the surface enough, then I'll go ahead and take wax, crystalline wax, and go over it with that and try to create a hard surface. It's very, very thin, but it's another form of trying to isolate. And you can go back over any of those another time. So I've been having fun. I've actually really enjoyed where I'm sitting working because I have a big sliding glass door at my back. So I've got plenty of light all day long until the late afternoon when the sun starts to come in and the heat, as you understand, Michelle, the heat begins to come through the door, and I have to start closing the drapes because I really can't have it come in at the level it's happening right now from outside. So I've been productive, and I've made additional passes over the first boards that I did, which to me I'm trying to approach completion on them, and with the intention that I will sell these at some point because I'm liking what's happening to it, and
That's great.
Having plenty of time to let it be rather than immediately putting something up for sale. I think as much as I
Yeah.
haven't done that in the past, I sure do need to proceed and work like this.
Me
Give
too.
everything lots of air before it gets
Yeah.
put out there in the public.
Yeah.
That way I've had enough time to detach from it and come back and detach again and come back and see it fresh. And as we're
Yeah.
all gaining our understanding, you see things you couldn't see the last time
Yeah.
because you're too
Yes.
close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been working really well, and I'm excited about that. I'm feeling really good right now. Like I'm right where I'm sitting, right where I should be.
That's
So
wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
it's great.
Yeah.
And when I went home for that, actually I was home about 12 days. I pulled a 3x3 foot canvas out. Let me tell you something. That was a real relief to get up on a big surface.
Mhm.
And you might just allow yourself to do that and then go back
I might have to.
because it's
You're
such a
Mhm.
pleasure after,
Mhm.
you know, working small.
Mhm.
I only pulled
Sure.
one. I didn't pull a bunch of them. I just pulled one. And some different stuff happened. And I thought, you know, this might even lead to the next series of some kind. But it was a healthy activity, believe me. And now as I'm back down here, I'm forced to go back to the small. So, you know, it's good.
That's lovely variety, you know.
Isn't this wonderful? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
Yes. I have, Fred treated me to putting the Fire Stick on the TV that's in the room I'm working on. So, working in, so I can actually stream YouTube up on the big TV if I want to watch,
Mhm.
you know, videos. Or I just actually binge watched something off Prime. I don't have Prime at home anymore. I just decided to delete the expense. But when I come down here, I have full access. So, I binge watched over the weekend Mozart in the Jungle, which is a series that quit in I think January or February of last year. So now it's all up on Prime, so you can go. You know, it's 40 episodes,
Mhm.
and I
Is it
watched them
wonderful?
all. It was
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, it was like 5 stars on Prime. So
Oh,
it was.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good
it's
one.
behind the scenes of the New York Symphony
Mhm.
and all of the
Ooh.
crazy real life
Yeah.
stuff. Not it's a drama. It's not real. I mean, it's
Mhm. Of
you know,
course.
it's fake, but boy, was it fun. You know,
Mhm.
so that's what I did. Well, you know, two things at once, of course. You know,
Mhm.
painting and binge watching something.
Mhm.
So
I'm wondering, I could probably get Prime Video in here. You know, I subscribe, so I probably could do it, but
Yeah,
I
it's
was
on your
streaming it off my
device.
phone because
Mhm.
I'm not on my phone all the time. I was streaming it off my phone at home
Mhm.
with a Bluetooth device on the back of the TV, which allows me to stream. But I have come. It's very interesting. Now there are some things that you can't stream onto the TV. Now
Yeah.
they're curtailing
really?
your ability. Now it's not through Prime, but something I was trying to get access to.
Oh, really?
They would allow you to stream it on on your phone or maybe your pad, but not on your TV. And I thought, they're really trying to limit and have you pay for extra, and if you want to stream to more than one device. So
Mm, that's
I'm very
interesting.
pleased to have access to Prime where I'm
Mm.
sitting at the moment because it really doing one show continually helps me stay in the same zone with no commercials or
Yeah,
anything. That's really helpful to
yeah.
stay right in my workspace and
Mhm.
continue. Anyways, there's my weekend.
Sounds like a fun weekend.
It was great. I got a lot of nice little things done to those pieces, and I'll start to post some of them in our group.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. So
That's all
wonderful.
I've got.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm glad. I'm so happy you're in the zone. So.
Me too.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's wonderful. Hey, Beata, it's your turn.
My turn. So I didn't do too many things. We had a family gathering on Saturday. That took away the day. And I just watched the CVP videos, and somehow I'm reluctant dealing with collage. I have no idea why, because Earlier I created a few pieces and it's fun, but somehow I resist using collage on my boards now. I have no idea why. However, I would try the image transfer. I just need to use a LaserJet, so I need to go for a print studio to have some materials printed and try it. So probably I'm going to do that. And I have started repainting one of my earlier large painting, and I would like to paint something which has a similar effect that Larry Poon's huge paintings, which simply swallows you. And they are colorful, has very big depth, and really huge emotion. So they evoke really huge emotions, at least in me. And I just would like to get the same feelings which somehow moves you. And I have no idea if I can do it.
Well, the desire is the
But
start.
trying. And but the experience trying to paint on this way is so liberating. It's simply fantastic. The feeling itself. And I know it will last for a while because he creates several layers, so it will take a longer period of time until I will be ready with it. But that's what I'm trying to do now.
That sounds exciting.
At
Definitely
least
something
the
to look forward.
experience is great, and I want to get there.
Yeah.
It can happen that I won't be achieve it now. Then my painting's going to sit for a while, and I will do it when I will be ready.
Yeah,
We'll see.
that's exciting.
Yeah,
That's
it's exciting. Yes.
I've never been able to figure image transfers out. I don't know why. Is there what do you use? Do you use liquid gesso? Do you use gel, medium gel, matte?
I use Jack
Yeah.
What's that?
or matte medium.
Matte medium. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The important thing is that you need to use a lot of matte medium, and you place the image on it. It needs to be a LaserJet printed image, so the printed method is important.
Oh, maybe.
What's also important that you shouldn't put gel medium to the top, otherwise it will stick the paper.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Maybe
So you
it's the laser
need to
jet part that I've been missing. Maybe. Maybe. Because my
Now you
printer
put
button.
the medium is put on the substrate, right? And you put the image down onto
Yeah,
the substrate.
On it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
you
think
put
it's
into
the
the
laser
substrate
jet part
the
that I've been
image,
missing.
and you can put over transfer paper and ensure that it's going to be smooth. Then you need to let it dry for at least 20 minutes. But it's better if you let it dry
Yeah.
for a long period of time, and after that you can do that. Oh,
I'm starting to
opportunity.
rub it off now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if the print is adequate and you do it carefully, it should work.
Okay.
I want to try it because it makes the painting interesting, I think.
Yeah,
let,
I also
don't let
wanted
the
to.
backing, don't let the backing paper go down the drain. Warning, it will
Yeah.
clog your drain. And I had to take the little neck off to get,
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good warning.
warning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I just started listening, but I haven't finished the interview what Nicholas Wilton created in the academy with an artist who was originally, I think, an economist, and he did management consulting. And he started painting 4 or 5 years ago
Mm-hmm.
and changed now to become a full-time artist.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he is in the product development phase, which is important. So I'm also in the product development phase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's much more acceptable for me. So,
Mm-hmm.
are in the development phase.
Yeah.
And he was speaking about the paradox between the creativity. If you want to be creative person, in that case, you need to take risks and create from the place of total freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Why? When you want to sell your work, you need to get accepted by others, and you need outside approvals, and that is the paradox
Yes.
situation for an
Yeah.
artist.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is. The
Yeah.
huge
So I
life
haven't
paradox.
finished this discussion because you might have some ideas how we we need to balance in this paradox situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
started listening to that as well. I didn't finish yet.
Yeah, I haven't finished yet either.
Yeah, it is a paradox.
Yes, that's a
Ah,
paradox.
I just believe it sounds simplistic, but I really believe as we're painting what we love, and we're not just, in my case, I'm accusing myself because I'm not getting out into the world, right? But I think as we're painting what we love, we're getting out into the world, we're showing people our art, we're having conversations. I think that's the natural flow, of success as an artist. But again, I don't know. I don't know.
But it's very interesting because he said that he shared a lot on Instagram. But as soon as he changed to become a full-time artist, he stopped sharing on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so somehow that's interesting
it is interesting.
because
It is interesting.
I think he's
Yeah.
waiting until he gets to wherever he feels that he's competent before he starts sharing.
That's how I feel right now. That
Me too.
I'm in a transition phase, and I don't really, and
Yes.
I don't feel like I want to share all that middle ground,
Mhm.
and maybe I'm stepping away from what they're telling us works.
Yeah.
That we ought
Yeah.
to let everybody know exactly everything we're doing all the time.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
really my personality. I would rather at least get up to a certain plateau and then begin to share it. I've already had some people, I've had some success. Some people buy pieces and always, been thrilled when someone reacted to it. So there's a little bit of fuel to run on. But
Yeah.
this group, these small pieces I'm doing, I'll share them with our group
You're ready.
so that you all can see some of what I've been doing.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Definitely.
I told a few other friends in the area here that I felt like I was doing too much exploration, and I'm running into things not being consistent. I guess maybe they will become that way.
Yeah.
they're not there yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hear you because that's the way I'm feeling too.
I think it goes back to, yes, we all have different personalities and our intention. Because I know in my case, when the intention was just showing to sell, I you saw it. It blocked me. It just
Yeah.
blocked
Yeah.
me. You know.
Yeah.
And now it's more about, because I do have an engaged audience on Instagram. I do, and I know they're. It's actually what urges me on. You know, people, my little audience is fascinated when I'm sharing behind the scenes. But I realize I'm also more comfortable in sharing process
yeah.
Mhm.
more than the actual thing, you know, because that's what engages people. I feel like they're in the studio with me. I really do. You know, when I'm sharing through the Instagram stories, you know.
Yeah.
So
I don't really want to die on Instagram, you know. I don't want to quit. But I have thought there might be a way to do something on there, throw something out so people know I'm working rather than that I'm not even, you know, they don't hear from me, they have no clue what I'm doing. I would like to put some teasers out there. But some of this work's going to come out. It's going to come out this fall. So I'm probably going to wait to unveil until a little later to everybody. You
Yeah.
know?
I would invite you to revisit your wealth dynamics, because that takes us back to the path of least resistance.
Mechanic.
No, it's true. It takes us
Yeah.
back to what is easy, what flows for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there could be a way of sharing that feels more aligned, even though you're not ready to share
Yeah.
the whole thing. So
Yeah.
just look at that and see.
Yeah, well, that's very much the mechanic. I mean, they're into figuring out how the pieces work, and then eventually making something very different out of them.
Okay,
So the
so
pieces could be shared, maybe,
this
but the
maybe.
not final piece of not artwork necessarily, but the
Yeah.
parts of the puzzle.
Yes, possibly. You know, because when it comes back to me being the star, I'm on a stage. You know, so I enjoy. It's true.
And
I
we enjoy watching you.
Oh, thank you. You know, I enjoy. Again, when I'm sharing, it's like I'm inviting you into the studio. That's my, as I'm going into my Instagram stories, which is where I find the most comfort. I'm just inviting you into the studio, and that's the energy that I put
Yeah.
out. So yeah, there's a way for all of us. We just need to find it. Okay. Well,
Press, it's getting there.
oh, you did it. There
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
It's getting
that's so cool. I think I have a feeling I haven't succeeded. Is it laser jets? Which one is it again?
I mean,
Laser.
For the printing, is it laser jet or what's the
yes.
other one? So this is laser jet.
Well, you want a toner copy. No, you want to get a copy like from Kinko's or
Okay.
rather than right off your printer. It doesn't
Okay.
work.
That's why it probably hasn't worked.
Okay.
So, okay. Thank you. I'm definitely going to look into it. All right, ladies. Have a wonderful week.
You too.
Okay.
All right.
See you.
All
See
right.
you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Mhm.